Hey there, Splats. Well, welcome finally to the 5th episode of our Splatoon 3 Weapons Guide series, where I go through each weapon type and try to introduce them to the best of my knowledge, show their playstyles, talk about the roles a bit, and help you guide yourself to the ones that suit you more. The last episode was about Splatanas, and today we are going back to the most elemental one, Sloshers. In a previous video of mine, a community member commented what other weapon could be more beginner friendly than a Slosher, since everyone used a bucket in their life at some point and have instincts on how to use them. Which is very true, I guess. Keep in mind that this series is first and foremost made for new players and others who seek basic overview of weapons and information about them, so everything in the video should be taken as basic introduction. If you're also interested in advanced guides and Salmon Run content, also don't hesitate to subscribe and check out the rest of the channel. Now let's dive in. Sloshers, similarly like rollers, are one of the iconic and unique weapon types in Splatoon, the player literally running around with a bucket of paint. I personally think they are one of the most straightforward weapon types in the game, but also the ones with a lot of variety, as all the different Sloshers come with very different playstyles. They're quite easy to get used to, and a good Slosher player can splat you or harass you from the most ridiculous positions thanks to their large arcing mass of ink they hurl at you, and depending on the Slosher they use, they'll be dangerous at different ranges. Be ultra aggressive with the Tri-Slosher in close range, play with one of the most ruthless zoners, the Sloshing Machine or the Blob Lubber, or be an anchor or a backliner and snipe people with your Explosher. While all of these Sloshers are just throwing paint at their base, they have very different mechanics on how they work, but even how the paint they are throwing works. For example, the Tri-Slosher is very similar to Roller Flings, as in it's a short-range large cone-like attack that will just deal a lot of damage to anything someone in front of you. But the Sloshing Machine or the Explosher on the other hand have very precise ink bombs, I would call them, with some area effect properties that you have to aim more precisely with to bombard your opponents. Then you have the Blob Lubber, which is a bubble machine creating lots of bubble projectiles that can bounce off walls and travel at great distance before exploding, creating something of a bullet hell for your opponents. They all have their pros and weaknesses, and they serve very different roles that they excel at in Splatoon, allowing a good range of variety for someone who would like to mostly focus on Sloshers, but also have a good variety of playstyles. I would recommend Sloshers mainly to anyone who likes the unique aesthetic of the weapon, since not many shooters allow you to fire with a bucket. So it's a unique experience on its own that can be really fun. Apart from that, I'm not sure how to describe it, but Sloshers require a unique, different kind of aiming that's worth to try out for everyone to see if you like it more than guns, since instead of shooting they hurl large blobs of ink that just feels very different. As mentioned, they have very good variety of playstyles to test, but if you fancy the idea of being able to zone your opponents and pressure them with large area attacks, that's what I think Sloshers really excel at. Difficulty-wise, Sloshers are hard to gauge since the different types of them are very different, and while I would say an Explosher is quite a difficult Slosher to use, you also have a normal Slosher or the Tri-Slosher, which I think is quite beginner friendly. But because of the idea that everyone probably has even a good real-life experience how buckets work that can unconsciously help you get used to these weapons, I'll give Sloshers a unique difficulty of 1 star with 3 dim stars, representing their difficulty based on which you pick. Keep in mind, this is just my personal feeling, so take it with a grain of salt, but I always felt Sloshers are a very good and fun weapon type to get into for anyone, even players who never played shooters before. For their roles, there are definitely slayers like the Tri-Slosher or an anchor such as the Explosher. But since we haven't talked about another role, I'll mainly categorize Sloshers as skirmishers in this video. Skirmishers, or fighters as the name suggests, are responsible to starting fights with the enemy team, but should not be mistaken or mixed with slayers. Skirmishers are to start fights and weaken the enemy team so that your slayers can deal with them, and are usually very good at that thanks to their ability to have constant pressure and good range on their side. They excel at using the map to their advantage, similarly like anchors do, to stay alive as long as possible, and their main objective is to create openings for their slayers on their team to be able to do splats. While an anchor's responsibility is to hold the line and be the safe point for the team to be able to fall back on, a skirmisher is the opposite, and their team relies on them to start advances and create openings for their team to wipe out the enemy. There are 3 abilities I would highly suggest for most Sloshers because of their weapons, but also if they're playing as skirmishers. Ink Saver main is usually recommended as I think Sloshers can be very ink heavy, and it's easy to run out in the worst possible moments, and if you're trying to initiate fights a lot, it can be really awkward to run out of ink. Next, Swim Speed is really useful to help you reposition fast if it's possible to good map positions, but also to be able to initiate those fights faster when needed, so it's pretty straightforward. And last, I can't recommend stealth jump enough, as this special main ability will hide the location you are super jumping to unless they get really close to you, which is an essential ability right now in Splatoon 3 anyway. Subs and special wise, I think Sloshers are blessed with pretty okay kits overall, with the sloshing machine having an absolute powerhouse of a kit. The Fizzy Bomb just allows the machine to be the ultimate zoner and harasser weapon in Splatoon to the point it already needed nerfs. And Booyah Bomb on top of that will give it excellent survivability with its large health pool and also initiating potential with its attack itself. Their specials overall complement their playstyles depending on if they are more zoners with an Ink Storm or slayers with the Inkjet. And apart from the point sensor I don't like on the Slosher much, they all have very good sub-weapons too. In the end, I think all of them have kits that help them zone better, so I personally don't really have any special wishes for them for the future. But if I could get an alternate Tri-Slosher, I might ask for a Booyah Bomb on it or Tenta Missiles. Sloshers are a very fun and unique weapon type, and as I said, you don't really find another shooter that has them. So better play them and experience it in Splatoon, or else you might miss out of the fun. Depending on which weapon you choose, they can have a nasty learning curve, but a Tri-Slosher or a Blob Lubber I think is always a fun weapon to swap to for anyone for a really good time. You know what I always say in every episode, if you really like a weapon no matter what, remember to stick to it and practice no matter what people say, as your passion for a weapon is a huge advantage and the top Splatoon players already proved it. Any weapon can work even on the highest levels, so keep going. But that is a wrap for our 5th episode of the weapon series for beginners. Sorry for the huge delay since the last episode. There was a lot of work to be done, but I hope I'll be able to continue the series with a decent schedule. With that said, I also hope this video made you interested in Sloshers, as they are one of my favorite weapons and can be a true menace on any stage really. As always, I'm open to feedback what you liked or disliked about this episode or the series overall, so leave a comment if you felt like I missed something. More episodes will be coming, we'll see which weapons will be next, but Splatfest is also close, so better prepare for the festivities. Thank you so much for all your support in Splatoon, it's been a great journey to grow together, and I hope my videos are still entertaining and helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time. Bye bye.